Good morning and welcome to a day that calls for double digits. When I last checked, we were at 10 degrees. It's almost a heat wave out there. Sorry for a little bit of a delay in getting started. We had some technical issues on this end, but I think Josh has got those figured out and we are good to go. It's kind of like getting up a little late when it's cold outside in the morning. I do believe the Arctic blast may be on its way out of here. While I can't see each of you, I bet you are at home warm and cozy. Happy Valentine's Day a little bit late, and thank you for being here. Our gatherings do look a little bit different right now, but in our hearts and minds, we are still connected and blessed to have each other. My name is Jane Graves, and I'm your Silver and Gold Coordinator. The Silver and Gold Senior Club of Northwest Missouri is a Meyerhofer community outreach program that works to engage, educate, and entertain seniors in this area. We generally meet as a group each month where we are served a lunch and get a chance to engage with other seniors and enjoy presentations and entertainment in person. Until we can meet as a group, mark your calendars for the third Wednesday of each month and follow the Silver and Gold Club of Northwest Missouri on Facebook for event updates. Last year was challenging for all of us, but we are here and I do believe there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We had hoped that February would allow Silver and Gold members some opportunities to see each other, especially after a year that kept us socially distanced and trying to stay virus free. We have had to change the dates of all of our February events thus far. However, there's 1 week left this month and we're going to cram it all in 1 week, so we're going to have some fun. Tomorrow will be our Silver and Gold drive-through luncheon, so we hope that you can join us there. We've got a reservation list of about 250, so I'm hoping to see a lot of smiling faces. Do you know how cold it is out? I overheard a man talking about his younger days when he slept in a bed with 4 other siblings. When it got colder, his mother just threw another brother on. I know how cold it is. It's so cold I fell out of bed and broke my pajamas. The crowd is roaring in this room. I'm so glad you are here. You have the best seats in the house for today's Silver and Gold event, so sit back and enjoy. A group that deserves a big thank you for all that they do throughout the year are our Silver and Gold partner sponsors. They are the businesses that have provided our drive-through luncheons, and they not only pay for those luncheons, but they help to serve and deliver those luncheons when you can't get out. Freudenthal Home-Based Health Care, The Hearing Connection, Hy-Vee, John Joe Insurance, Benedictine Living Community of St. Joseph, Meyerhofer Funeral Home and Crematory, Nella Stein Vein Institute, Performance Plus Rehabilitation Center, and Wiles Eye Center. They truly care about Silver and Gold members and should be the ones that you reach out to when you need something. We're so lucky to have them as partners of this great club. Now, I would like to introduce our featured presenter. Eric Montagna is back by popular demand. He is the general manager at Meyerhofer Funeral Home and is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to just about anything. He has visited every United States president and vice president's gravesite. I know he attended a couple of funerals for past presidents, and I understand he played a role in Lady Bird Johnson's funeral. I would like to present Eric Montagna, who will share stories and information on presidential inauguration through the ages. Eric, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jane, and it's great to be here. I always like talking in February since it's President's Day weekend in this month, and we're going to talk about something a little different than my normal topic. We're going to talk about inaugurations and how presidents come into power each time. So we have just witnessed an inauguration that people have told us is reportedly unlike any other. But is that really true? Was there that much out of the ordinary about this inauguration? All the components that we consider necessary for the installation of a president were there, or were they? We might ask ourselves, are the traditions that we think that surround the inauguration really as permanent and long held as we believe? You may be shocked to learn how new some of the pomp and circumstances really are. Inaugurations have been simple as well as very elaborate. They've been somber and they've been riotous. They've been choreographed national theater and they have been spur-of-the-moment necessities. This President's Day week, let's examine a brief history of how we usher in a new administration. Now, with every study of the presidency, we begin with one man, and that man is George Washington. He was inaugurated on April 30th, 1789, on the balcony of Federal Hall in Manhattan, New York. Washington was not sworn in by a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court for one good reason. We didn't have any justices at that point. So he was sworn in by the Chancellor of New York, a man named Robert Livingston. A massive parade followed General Washington as he made his way to that site, and much of the symbolism and the ceremony mirrored the Masonic order rituals of which Washington was very familiar with. Now, his second inauguration was finally moved to the date that most of history saw as the date for presidential inaugurations, and that was March 4th. That date would stand until 1937. Not only was the date moved, but so was the location, because our capital had moved from New York to Philadelphia. And at that second inauguration, Washington gave the shortest speech on record for inaugurations of just 135 words. His successor, John Adams, was installed in Philadelphia as well, in the House chamber there to accommodate more spectators. Now, Adams was the victim of almost the first contested election because he didn't receive unanimous votes twice like Washington did. Someone actually voted against him. But if he thought those troubles in 1796 were bad, the next election would really prove fateful. Because in 1800, the race not only included Thomas Jefferson and John Adams fighting it out, but a third candidate, Aaron Burr, nearly stole the presidency from them with all of his backroom dealings. It took multiple months, multiple votes, and a lot of political deal-making to finally resolve this election by a margin of just one single vote. Thomas Jefferson's inaugurations were held in Washington, D.C. for the first time, and another first happened there. That was the first time a president, an outgoing president, decided not to attend the inauguration. In the middle of the night, John Adams boarded a public stage and started his long journey home to Massachusetts rather than watch his successor be sworn in. Now, things progressed there at the Capitol for a long time. Over the next several presidents, that's where that was held. With the exception of James Monroe, they couldn't hold the inauguration at the Capitol building because the British had burned that building down in the War of 1812 in their attack on Washington, D.C. So it was under construction, and the inauguration was held at the old brick Capitol, which was used temporarily during the construction of the new Capitol. John Quincy Adams was the second president not to attend his successor's inauguration. He had run and lost against Andrew Jackson, and that was a tough battle because those two men had battled it out 4 years before, and John Quincy Adams had won that time. Well, John Quincy Adams just couldn't stand to see General Jackson take the office. Jackson had been relentless in calling the previous election a corrupt bargain between Adams and his cronies. So John Quincy Adams bailed out of town. Jackson moved his inauguration outside so the common man could watch him be inaugurated, and it stayed outside of the Capitol building until about 1981. Jackson's inauguration was marked with great celebrations, and even the White House itself was overrun with people there for the festivities. 3 terms later, in 1841, when President Martin Van Buren was leaving office, no one really knows why he skipped out on the inauguration, but he did. He didn't want to see his nemesis, General William Henry Harrison of the Whig Party, take office, so we had our third instance of an outgoing president not attending the inauguration. Now, General Harrison's victory was bittersweet. He was the oldest man to take office at that time, and he gave the longest inaugural speech on record. I believe 8,455 words. He did it in a blizzard without a lot of outer coverings. He caught pneumonia. He died 31 days later. So this led to the first instance of a president dying in office, leading to an impromptu inauguration for his vice presidency to fill that vacancy. John Tyler took the oath of office at Brown's Indian Queen Hotel. He was sworn in by a circuit court judge who was the only judge in town available. And because of all this controversy, during the next 4 years of his term, there were great feelings of illegitimacy of his presidency. So some things never change. Less than a decade later, General Zachary Taylor died, catapulting Millard Fillmore to the office, and that same circuit court judge happened to be the only federal judge in town, and they swore in Millard Fillmore to the presidency. A couple of quick photographs here to look at. This is 1857. This is James Buchanan's inauguration, Buchanan, for whom our county is named for. And this is the first known photograph of a presidential inauguration, way back in 1857. You can't make anyone out in particular, but he's up there on that stand taking the oath of office. A more interesting picture comes about 8 years later. This is 1865, and this is Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural. Lincoln is there. He's got the blue box around him, and right above him with the red circle is another interesting figure. That is John Wilkes Booth. About 6 weeks before he assassinated Abraham Lincoln, and reportedly in that picture, while he watched Lincoln, he had a firearm in his pocket. He had considered assassinating Lincoln there at the inauguration. Andrew Johnson was elevated to the presidency within an hour or two after Lincoln's death by the Chief Justice in a very private ceremony in his own home. Then 4 years later, rather than attend the inauguration of Ulysses S. Grant, Andrew Johnson decided to have a cabinet meeting in the White House instead of joining in the inauguration. Then Rutherford B. Hayes is a few terms later. He came to the White House in what is truly probably the most contested election of our history. His election was certified just the day before the inauguration, not giving the country much time to plan. Following the death of James Garfield, his vice president, Chester A. Arthur, was sworn in by a New York state judge in his private home in New York. He wanted to be inaugurated before he made the long trip to Washington, D.C. For some reason, William McKinley in 1896 moved his inauguration back inside the Capitol, and he was inaugurated in the old Senate wing of the Capitol. Only time in history it's been done there. And then about 5 years later, when McKinley died, first of all, people had to go find Theodore Roosevelt. He was hiking in upstate New York. They got him down off the mountain, so he descended the mountain so he could ascend to the presidency. He made his way to Buffalo, New York, and was sworn in by a judge there in someone's home. Woodrow Wilson was not able to attend the inauguration of Harding, not because he chose not to, but he was still recovering from a debilitating stroke that had kind of waylaid him during the last years in the White House. So he was still convalescing when his successor took office. A few years later, when Warren Harding died, Calvin Coolidge was far away from Washington, D.C. He was visiting his father in Vermont at their little hometown called Plymouth Notch, Vermont. A telegram was hand-delivered to the house. They woke up the senior, Mr. Coolidge. He woke up his son to tell him the president had died. And he said, "Join me in my study. I've found a copy of the oath of office. And since I'm the highest ranking person in town, the Postmaster General of Plymouth Notch, Vermont, I will swear you in." And that's just what happened in the darkness in Vermont in the early 1920s. Coolidge's second inauguration was the first to be nationally broadcast on the radio. So that was a first, so the whole country could listen live to see or to hear what was happening. Then comes Franklin Delano Roosevelt in our story. In 1937, his second inauguration, he became the first president to be sworn in on a new date, January 20th, the date we recognize now as Inauguration Day. That date was established by the 20th Amendment. Now, Roosevelt, as we all know, is the only person to be inaugurated not just twice, not 3 times, but 4 times, which led to the 22nd Amendment being passed, limiting the number of years and terms a president can serve. In that unprecedented 4th term, he decided to take the oath of office at the White House. First time that ever happened at the White House, because he was too ill to travel, really. And then just a few weeks later, when he died, the second such White House inauguration happened when Harry Truman from Missouri was sworn in the cabinet room of the White House. Now, there's a famous photo of one of the other contested elections that we know of. This one happened in the last century. This is Dewey defeating Truman. We all know that really didn't happen. It was the other way around. It took a few days to sort it all out. That famous photograph was actually taken in Excelsior Springs, Missouri, at the Elms Hotel before Truman left to go back to the White House. Inaugurations went back to the East Portico at that inauguration, and they stayed that way for several terms until November 22nd, 1963. That's when Lyndon B. Johnson took the oath of office on board Air Force One following the assassination of John F. Kennedy. He insisted that he take the oath of office before he left the ground in Dallas, contrary to everyone in Washington, including Robert Kennedy, who told him, "Lyndon, get back to Washington, we'll inaugurate you here." LBJ wanted to be in charge as soon as he could, so the oath of office was administered by a district court judge that he helped appoint, Sarah Hughes of Texas, and at this point she remains the only woman to install a new president. Following the resignation of Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford took the oath of office in the White House's East Room. He didn't really give so much of an inaugural address as he did kind of a statement of healing for the country following Watergate and trying to put all that behind us. And that's a very famous speech. In 1981, the inaugurations finally landed in the spot that we know today and consider to be the place where a president is inaugurated, and that's on the west side of the Capitol building, not the east side. Ronald Reagan, coming from California, said he wanted to face west when he took the oath of office. He wanted to look to the future of the country, which he thought was west. He also, being a great actor, well, a good actor, maybe not a great actor, but being an actor and the great communicator, he knew the power of images, and he knew if he moved to the west side of the portico, far more people could watch the inauguration. So that went from a relatively large event on the east side to a massive event on the west side, and that's where the inauguration has stayed ever since, and that only happened 40 years ago. His second inauguration got changed quite a bit. There was a terrific blizzard in Washington, D.C. He was inaugurated in the White House for the second term and gave his official speech and public inauguration inside the Capitol building the next day. Outside the past election cycle, which is a story all in itself, the most recent famous contested election occurred in 2000, you'll remember, between Al Gore and George Bush. The tides turned so many times that night, and over the next month, it was hard to tell who would be inaugurated on the 20th of January, a decision that finally rested with the Supreme Court in some judgments that cleared the way for Bush to be inaugurated. And since then, the ceremonies have all been held on the West Portico, and as we know, with the last inauguration, Donald Trump became the first living outgoing president to skip out on the ceremony in the past 100 years. Now, there's a few parts of the inauguration that we think have always been there. The first is the oath of office. The Constitution doesn't spell out exactly what the oath of office is, but some other federal register records do. The only thing the Constitution says is the president has the option to either take an oath or to affirm. He can either swear an oath or affirm an oath. The only president ever to affirm the oath was Franklin Pierce, who did so for religious reasons. And the end of that oath, "So help me God," appears nowhere in the text. That was added extemporaneously by George Washington, the very first inauguration. After they had closed the Bible, he said, "So help me God." And there those words have stayed for every inauguration since. Only 6 times in all these years have poems been part of the inauguration, most famously with Robert Frost and Maya Angelou, but everyone thinks poetry is part of the inauguration. Only 6 times. Everyone thinks inaugural prayers are part of the inauguration. Wasn't started until 1933. Luncheons have come and gone. parades have come and gone based on what's happening in the country, and inaugural balls have changed due to the temperament of the times. And at least one time, the inaugural ball was held alcohol-free when Rutherford B. Hayes' wife, Lemonade Lucy they called her, refused to allow alcohol to be served at the inaugural ball. Now, every transition of power, skipped a few there, has had opportunity for inaugural addresses by the president, incoming president, and there's some words that are worth hearing again that have kind of resonated through history that probably now are just as important as any. Now, these inaugural addresses range from 135 words, as I said, to 8,455 words. Let's listen to a few of them here. From Franklin Delano Roosevelt. You'll recognize this. This nation will endure as it has endured. We revive, we will prosper. So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. From John F. Kennedy. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Bill Clinton left us with, there is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured with what is right with America. Teddy Roosevelt challenged us. Much has been given to us, and much will rightfully be expected from us. We have duties to others and duties to ourselves. We can shirk from neither. In a conciliatory remark, Thomas Jefferson said, "But every difference of opinion is not a difference of principle. We have called by different names brethren of the same principles. We are all Republicans. We are all Federalists." Ronald Reagan reminded us, government is not the solution of our problem. Government is the problem. And probably the most eloquent words stated in an inaugural address came from Abraham Lincoln in his second address. He said, "With malice towards none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and among all nations." Truly words every American should hearken and live by. Thank you all, and have a great day. Thank you, Jane.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you, Eric. Again, a great presentation by Eric Montagna. Always so much information, and it kind of makes you take a look at where we are now compared to where we've been, and maybe things aren't that bad. But anyway, thanks, Eric, for the fun facts and bit of history there. Okay, now it's time to get your blood flowing and do some exercises. Do you know how cold it is outside? It's so cold I went running yesterday morning, and while the sun was out, my shadow froze to the sidewalk. Okay, some of you may remember Ryan Steen from last month's Facebook Live. Ryan is a licensed physical therapy assistant with Performance Plus Rehabilitation Center. He graduated from Missouri Western State University in 2016 and started in home health care before transitioning to Performance Plus in early 2017. After last month's Facebook Live, Ryan and his wife Molly were blessed with a darling baby daughter. He might look a little tired this month. It'll be a little easier to keep up with him. We're glad to have you here, Ryan. Let us get up and start moving.
Good morning. Happy to be back today. Like she said, my name is Ryan Stin. I'm a PTA, Performance Plus Rehabilitation Center at our St. Joseph location, and I'm happy to take a few minutes with you guys today and go over some simple, safe, and effective home exercises to hopefully get you moving here this morning. All right, so as before, we really don't need too much equipment here, especially with these first few exercises that I'm going to show you. If you have your body, you're halfway there. The only other thing that you need is just a firm chair, like a chair you'd find at your kitchen table. So if you're on your couch or in your recliner, go ahead and stand up for me and get to something that has a little more support. All right. So the first few exercises that we're going to do are going to focus on the upper half of our body, and then we're going to round out with a few on the lower half, okay? So first things first, go ahead and sit in your firm chair. I want you to scoot out to the edge of the chair for me, okay? We're going to sit with good upright posture while we're doing this exercise, and we're going to focus on the shoulders here, in particular the deltoid mass that sits right over the top, and we're also going to get a little bit of rotator cuff involvement as well, okay? So first things first, you're going to take your arms out to the side. Notice how my shoulder makes a 90-degree angle and my elbow makes a 90-degree angle for our starting position, okay? We're not going to come any lower than that while we're doing this exercise. We're going to maintain that position the whole time, and we're going to shoot for 10 repetitions with all these exercises that we do today, all right? So doing an overhead press, coming straight up, slowly back down to that 90-degree position, okay? There's 2. You may start to feel a little bit of a burn right over the top of your shoulder, and that's right where we would expect you to feel it, because that's right where those deltoids are working to bring your shoulders overhead. And there's halfway. We're going 6, 7, 8, 2 more, good. And then 1 more time for me. Good, all right, you can go ahead and relax. So, with all those exercises, you may have noticed that the shoulder is doing most of the work, and that's exactly what we want, okay? For these next few, I'm going to focus once again on the shoulder blade region, the shoulder joint, but also the cervical region, our neck area, okay? Especially with these really cold days that have appeared recently, we've probably more frequently been on our laptops, our cell phones, reading newspaper, reading books, or maybe just sitting in our chair for long periods of time. And when we do that, we have a tendency for our shoulders to round and our head start to slip forward. And when that occurs, that puts a lot of pressure on the spine, and it puts us in something called postural kyphosis, which basically is a fancy way of saying that we're getting really hunched over, okay? So this next exercise is a little bit of a 2-for-1, and it's mainly to address that postural correction that I was just describing, okay? So I'm going to turn to the side here so the camera can see me, and hopefully you guys can see me here as well. We want to sit with good upright posture here. Your elbows are going to be bent to 90 degrees and tucked into the side, almost like you're strapped in, going to fly a jetpack, okay? And then the other part of this I want you to focus on is your head. So you're going to squeeze your shoulder blades together, but when you squeeze your shoulder blades together, I want you to imagine someone took their hand and pushed your head straight back, okay? So we're almost like a turtle tucking back into its shell, all right? So we're basically just trying to really pull our shoulder blades back and force us in that ideal postural positioning, okay? So you should almost feel like you have an awkward double chin and like you're having a hard time talking when you pull back. You may feel a little discomfort on the back side of your neck as well, and that's totally normal, okay? We'll do a few more here. Good. Good. 2 more. Good, and the last one. Good, all right. So these next 2 exercises that I want to go over with everyone are actually stretches. They're not necessarily strengthening exercises. But going back to the posture topic I was describing earlier, it's really common for us to get a lot of tightness on the back side of our neck. And that's primarily because we have 2 really large muscles that start at the top of our shoulder blades and come all the way up to the base of our skull. And when we go over into that hunched over position, those muscles on the back side of our neck kick on too much because they're trying to pull us back, even though it's not their primary job. And when they start to turn on too much, they become tighter and tighter, and that can increase neck pain as well as tension headaches. So these next 2 stretches are just a simple way to basically release those muscles a little bit and give them a temporary reprieve, okay? So I'm only going to do it one direction, but at home, I want you to go ahead and do both sides. So the first things first, you can start with either arm that you want, but I want you to take it and put it behind your back for me, okay? You're going to be looking straight forward while you're doing this. You're going to take the opposite hand and reach around to the temple on the other side of your head, and you're going to pull straight down, okay? We're going to hold this for what's going to seem like a long time, about 30 seconds. So just hang out here with me, and I'll let you know when to relax, roughly. Don't have a stopwatch in front of me. The reason we're going to hold this for so long is usually as we grow up through life, we always are taught to do quick stretches. And when we do quick stretches, our muscles actually, as a protective response, get tighter. The 30-second threshold is kind of the sweet spot where we have a different protective organism that lives in our muscles that cues the muscle to relax as a protective response. So that's why we want to hold these stretches for so long. And with this one, you should feel a pull right on the side of your neck, and that's totally normal and right where we want it. Good, gently relax out of it, don't let your head plop back, okay? This next one, very similar positioning, and you're probably gonna feel it a little bit further on the back of your neck this time. So same concept, we're going to put that exact same arm behind the back. You're going to look away, and you're going to look down like you're smelling the opposite armpit. Take your hand and put it on the crown of your head, and you're going to gently pull down. And you should feel this right on the back of your neck, like I said earlier. And this is hitting that second muscle that shrugs our shoulder blades that can get really tight when we sit with a really poor posture for long periods of time. And once again, just bear with me. We're going to try to get close to that 30-second mark so we can signal to that muscle to relax and not get tighter. That pull should start to feel a little more intense as you go, and that's that muscle starting to relax and give you a little more leeway. Good, we'll keep going a little longer here. My neck hurts pretty frequently, so I'll be honest, this feels good right now. Good, and once again, gently relax out of it. You may feel almost a little bit of pressure release, and that's normal just because that force is pushing down on our head, all right? Good, so those are the few that I wanted to go over on the upper side of your body. Now we're gonna switch to the lower half, okay? So the first one that I'm gonna have you do, this is the only time I'll ask you to have any kind of piece of equipment. You can use a bath towel, a belt, anything like that, okay? And all I'm gonna do here is wrap this around the outside of my knees, okay? So for this exercise, we're actually hitting the outside of the thighs, a group of muscles collectively referred to as the hip abductors. So what they do is take our legs out to the side. They take our hip out to the side, okay? So all I'm gonna have you do, once you have your belt or your bath towel around your knees, you're gonna hold that in place, and you're gonna push your legs out into the towel. So if the towel wasn't there, it's like we're coming out like this, okay? But we wanna make sure that we try to resist that force of the legs, and we're just gonna hold that for a few seconds here, and then relax. All right, we're going to shoot for 10 times here as well. You may kind of feel like your arms are working too, and that's totally normal. If you feel like it's too much, decrease how hard you're pushing out, okay? Good. Halfway there. Like I said, we want to hold this one for a little bit when we actually push out, okay? We don't want to just push out and then quickly come back in. And we want stability with this exercise, so that's why I'm not moving my legs very much. You may start to feel a little crampy around the outside of your hip as well with this, and that's normal because that's right where those muscles lie that are actually activating when we push out. Good, we'll do 2 more here. And 1 more time. Good. All right, so good news is you can get rid of that piece of equipment. I'll demonstrate this next one with something that's already on your body, okay? We're just gonna make a fist, and we're gonna work the exact opposite muscle group. We're gonna work the inside of the thighs now, all right? A group of muscles known as the hip adductors. So make a fist, and you're gonna put it right in between your knees here, okay? So you're just gonna gently squeeze down on your fist, and you should feel tightness right on the inside of your thigh, okay? And then we're gonna relax out of that. We're gonna go for this 10 times as well. Just holding it for a few seconds here. Good. If you feel like your muscles are starting to spasm or get really tight, decrease how hard you're pushing, all right? That's not necessarily the response we want with this exercise. Over halfway here. Good, hopefully you're hanging with me. Here's 8, 9, and 1 more makes 10. Good, all right. So this last exercise that I'm gonna show you, we're actually gonna get out of the chair, okay? So the best place to do this is probably ultimately the ground, but I understand it's not an option for a lot of you folks, so you can go to your couch or even your bed to do this next exercise. You've kind of noticed with these bottom half, we're working muscles around the hips collectively, okay? So really, when we have strong muscles around the hip and the pelvis, that can actually help our low back and also our knees, because when we're looking at the entire body, it's very holistic, and these areas are closely intertwined with each other. So like I said, you can either transition to the floor, the couch, or your bed for this next exercise. Now I'm going to move the chair out of the way here. Hopefully you'll be able to still see me. So this is an exercise a lot of you have probably done before at one point or another in your life. We're going to do a bridge. So we're going to come down to our back. Notice how my knees are bent, and I want your feet flat on the ground, okay? If you want, you can leave your hands down to the side, or you can put them across your chest to make this exercise a little harder. And all we're going to do is lift your bottom up into the air and then slowly lower back down, okay? We're going to shoot for 10 of these as well. We're mainly trying to work the big butt cheek muscles, gluteus maximus, but we're also going to get a little work on the back of the thigh, the hamstrings, because they also help with this motion at the hip. You may feel a little pull over the top side of your thigh as well, and that's the quadriceps They have a tendency to hold a fair amount of tension in this position, so what you're feeling is a little bit of a stretch being applied to them, and that's totally normal as well. Good, going into number 6 here. Remember, squeeze those butt cheeks together. That's the primary mover here. Good. And then 2 more times for me. And 10. Good. All right. You can safely transition back up. And if you made it through all of that, that is all the exercises that I have to go over with you guys today. Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time. And with any of these, as always, if you notice anything that felt uncomfortable or a sharp shooting pain, aching, that's normally a sign that something isn't right, and you can come see one of us over at Performance Plus. Have a great day, everyone, and I hope to be with you guys again soon.
Since I'm figuring those exercises with Ryan, I think they're amazing. Very much. Well, this might be where you want to go get a drink or go to the bathroom. It's time for Bobby. Bobby's going to share some announcements and maybe tell a joke or two. He's everybody's favorite Valentine, so I'd like to bring on Bobby. Hey, Bobby.
Well, thank you guys, and happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Hope everybody had a happy Valentine's Day. I know my wife enjoyed her new weed eater, but what? Speaking of weed eaters, of course, Jane always gives me the best jokes to say, and I had a friend named Mark, and he worked in a lawnmower parts warehouse, and somehow Mark got this idea that his wife didn't want a card for Valentine's Day. Now, who wouldn't want that? But when he spoke to her on the phone, guess what? She was expecting one. Not having time to buy her a card or anything like that, he panicked. He didn't know what to do. So he thought, you know what? There's a bunch of lawnmower trade magazines scattered around his office and stuff like that. So he got an idea. And using scissors and glue, he created a card of pictures of mowers, next to which he wrote, "I lawn for you, mower and mower, each day." Thank you. Those are Jane's jokes, guys. I mean, I know they're hard to get through, but she's got a great sense of humor. If you're still looking to get your COVID vaccine, but have not been able to find a place to get one, or you just have to have time to do so, then you can call Mosaic at the Mosaic COVID line, 816-271-4613. They will add you to a list, and will, when the turn comes around, they'll reach out to you and get you an appointment, that can be scheduled. Everybody out there, of course, we missed you again. February birthdays. If you have a special birthday or something like that in February, you've got a special surprise today. I'm going to sing. But I've also got a better surprise than that, because today is Debbie's birthday. Debbie, come up here. Let everybody see you on TV today. Debbie is 39. Turn around here with me, huh? This is Debbie. Say hi, everybody, right there.
Hi.
This is Debbie's birthday today, and I think we all ought to sing happy birthday. What do you think? Join in with me, guys. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Debbie. Happy birthday to you. Wasn't that special? Because it came from me, right? Happy birthday. Now go sit up. That's one of our favorite volunteers, and we've got all of our buddies over here today. And we are trying to work on our events for 2021. But between the weather this time of the year and this COVID thing we got going on, these events are nothing that we can plan too far in advance. So if you do, we'll have to give you some contact information, and we will keep you in the know. If this is your first chance to join Silver and Gold, then please become a member and share your contact information with us. You go to the resources page at www.meyerhofer.com and sign up or call Jane. And Jane's phone number is 816-271-0338. And of course, that's 816 Ooh, baby. Jane's got the craziest phone number. She changes it every month. Isn't that something? The Silver and Gold Love is in the Air scavenger hunt began on February the 1st. While the weather has not been very cooperative, the partners still have Valentine items on display in front of their offices. A sheet with addresses and clues set up to help you find these items was emailed out prior to February 1st, and it is available for pickup at each of the Silver and Gold partner offices. I know how excited everyone is about seeing me in person again. Well, guess what? Thank you, Donna. That's why I love you. See? The sheets were originally going to be turned in on February 12th, but our drive-through luncheon has been moved to tomorrow, Thursday, February 18th, so they can be turned in then. All entries will be eligible for prizes. The lunch drive-through will be at the Meyerhofer Funeral Home, where you can pick up anytime between 11 and 12:30. Please give us your feedback on the Facebook Live event. If this is something you enjoy, we would like to continue it. We are brainstorming new ideas on how to keep our members engaged. We plan to keep you busy but safe until we meet as a group, so I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Now, our entertainment today has literally gone to the dogs. Get it? There's dogs. Oh my gosh, this is a rough crowd today, Jane, let me tell you. Rochelle Willis is the head trainer at Fantastic Fidos, joined by Shanda Johnson, her training assistant. Rochelle trains hundreds of dogs each year at Fantastic Fidos and loves to see the relationship between dogs and their owners flourish. It is my pleasure to present Rochelle Willis with her training assistant, Shanda Johnson, and their awesome dogs. Take it away, ladies.
Hi, I'm Rochelle.
Hi, I'm Shanda,
This is George.
and this is Reggie.
And one thing we want to talk about first is, George was actually a rescue. He's actually Allison Thompson Fisher's dog. She rescued him from a difficult situation. And George is a very unique guy. He is a Portuguese water dog, and he kind of has like a pica, so he chews on everything. We joke and say that it's George's birthday, so if you'd like to go and get him some toilet paper, he'll have the 12-roll pack because he'll eat it. So it's a running joke with him. But he is very much of an entertainer. He's a wild child, but whenever the spotlight's on, he does a very nice job. Shanda, do you want to talk a little bit about Reggie?
So Reggie is also a rescue. He is my personal dog. He's 5, and I got him from the shelter up in Maryville. I was looking for a companion, and we just clicked instantly. He loves fetch. He lives for fetch. So he is quite the entertainer also. He's kind of fun to watch. He loves it so much that if he's out in our yard, he will actually go find something to play by himself, and he'll be out there throwing it around and everything. So he's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of our training is not just based on just fun and games. We work on behavioral training instead of obedience training. Behavioral training is, again, it's a mindset change instead of a force change. So we really feel strongly about the behavioral side of it, because obedience can be taught very quickly, 2 5-minute sessions a day, but behavior is 24/7 with dogs. A lot of times dogs are given up or returned to shelters, returned to breeders, due to the fact of basically it's the owner's responsibility to make sure that they're communicating properly with their dog. And a lot of times that doesn't happen. So that's where we kind of step in, and we get the opportunity to keep dogs in homes, which is obviously the goal, as well as creating, again, a really great companionship and relationship between family or handler and the dog. So again, we do behavioral training, and we do that with 3 ways. One is through leash training, which is just light leash pressure. The second way is through spatial pressure, which is body pressure and eye contact. And the third way is the reward-based pressure, which is with the treat or toy. The The reason why the treat of the toy doesn't come first in our training programs is because we want the dog to pay attention to us or their handler without us holding a treat up to our head, right? So it's where they want to have a mindset change and pay attention to us. But today we are going to do some tricks. So it's the fun part, but as I tell people all the time, we tell people all the time, is when you are still playing with your dog and doing fetch and stuff, you're still training them. So I tell people, you know, if you have children and they go and say they're playing soccer and they do something to get a red card, then they have to sit out, right? So it's a consequence of a bad choice that they made on the field. So therefore there has to be a consequence. So just like with your children, not comparing humans and dogs, however, it's a very easy analogy. When you're playing and they break the rules, the game is over. It's not over forever, but it's over for that time because you are still, in fact, training your dog. So I'm going to have Shanda take it away first.
I don't know how well he's gonna do. Sometimes he's a little bit shy with crowds, but usually he does pretty good. Reggie, come here. So like I said, super toy driven. Reggie, come here. He also likes treats, but toys are his thing. So we'll just kind of go ahead and start a little bit of play. Good. Here. Yes, good. So with this, I'm focusing on him bringing it right back to me. It took a long time to actually get to that point. He wanted to stay 5-6 feet back. And that's where if he were to not bring it back to me all the way, I would end it. I can also encourage him forward. I give him 1 or 2 times of me kind of motioning. Reggie, here. Good boy. As long as he's bringing it back, we can continue the game. And for him, the reward, as you can see, I'm not giving him a treat or switching it out with something. So the reward for him is that I'm throwing it again. Good boy. Come here. As you can see, very, very enthusiastic about the toy. Good boy. But he's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to work on some recall as well as some toy drive and having fun with him. It's a great way to just have fun with your dog as long as you are following.
He's so intense, I know.
Oh yeah, this is like, he's a border collie mix, so he's got that like border collie stare of he's staring down the toy. Sometimes if I stop, there's been times we've used him for a video at work, and I'll stop and just have the toy, and he'll come up and nudge it because he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Boy, come here. But he throws frisbees, balls, anything that you can throw for him, he will play with. He has brought me the little blade scent things. He has brought me a wrapper before when I had the toys all up, because with dogs you don't want to leave their toys out so they have free access to it. That's a resource for them, and you want them to play with you, so you don't want them to think like, oh, I have my toys out, like I don't need the person because I have access to them. So I had his toys up one day, and yeah, he went and found me a wrapper to play with. Boy. Come here.
All right, Georgie. Okay, so with George, like I said, he's typically a pretty good entertainer. We didn't really do a lot of practicing before we come here today, but George, place. George. Place. Place. George. Come on. Up. Up. Come here. Come on, George. Come here. Come here, George. Good. 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 Spin. Spin. No. Spin. Spin. Yes, good boy. Good boy. Come here. Set. Okay. Reverse. 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 Yes. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. You want to do something with him? You want to do that? Come on.
Sit. Down. Sit. Down. Sit. Good. Good boy. Okay, let's see. He's a little bit big for me, so I don't know if I can get him to do the weave.
Yeah, he can do the weave with Allison. There you go.
Good boy. Good boy. He's like, give me that.
You can do pause up.
What's up? Good boy. Good boy. Yeah. What's up? Yes. Good. Yeah. George, down. Your butt's still in the air. Sit. Down. There you go. Sit. Down. Sit. Good. Good boy. Try the weave again. See if we can do it better this time. With weave. Good boy. This way. Good boy. Yeah, good boy. Come here. George, come here. It's like when we get the crumbs.
Yeah.
Yes, good. Good. Looks like you have more in your pocket.
I know. All right. Do you guys have any questions?
That's awesome.
How can someone get in touch with you, or if they have pets that they would be
Oh,
interested in
well,
getting
you can
some
reach out to us. You can like us on our Facebook page, Fantastic Fidos. And then we're on Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. You can contact us at our offices, 816-364-0988. That's 816-364-0988. And you can reach out to us also on the web, so just www.fantasticfidos.com. But we have daycare, boarding, training, as well as grooming. So
Can you train your dog at any age, or is it best to
yeah,
start?
we've trained 7-week-old dogs all the way up to 10-year-old dogs.
So you can teach an old dog.
Yes, you can keep, yes, and a lot of people joke, but yes.
What is your address? One more.
It is, oh my gosh, 6108, like North Belt Highway Country Club. So it's St. Joseph, Missouri,
Right,
just
up north.
a
Okay,
little bit.
very good.
Yeah.
I've got a question about, okay, so I have a border collie mix that loves Frisbee just the same, but it is below 0 outside and it's really hard on his paws. What can I do on the inside to help him lose that energy that, you know?
That's a great question.
That is a great question.
So I like what's called paper plate recall race. It's a recall game as well. Can Reg do it? Does Reg do it?
He does it a
I think
little
George
bit.
does it. I'll show you really quick. It's a recall game, but here, grab Reggie.
Come here,
Reg,
Reg.
no.
Come
She's like, oh, she's gonna play.
She's going through
No,
that
I'm
thing.
gonna use that. I'm gonna use the Frisbee. So it's a recall game. It's really quick and easy to teach. It's a good mental game. And of course, it is treat motivated. You could do it with a toy, but typically I like to do it with a treat, because whenever you're working with your dog with food and you're hand feeding your dog, anytime you're hand feeding, you are kind of reducing any you're reducing some prey drive because you're in control of the food, and then you're also reducing any resource guarding because, again, everything is coming from you. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, come here, George. No, George.
Oh,
Oh, you stinker. We obviously need to
trick
leave.
or treat.
He's like, yeah, Rochelle, hold on. I just gotta grab this snack. So come here.
You want me to put a snack in the tray?
No, I can do it. Good. Thank you, though. Here, come here, bud.
I'll tell you that big one, Lloyd, because I got her where she could shake hands and
So, funny story about George. Anytime I take him anywhere and he gets in my car and I take treats, I I put him in one day into my car, put the treats down in the front seat, walked around to the other side of the car, and he had ate the entire bag of treats in like 5 seconds. So you work on impulse control. So we'll work on just a stay command, right, or stay.
How old is George?
George he just turned 5, didn't he? He just turned 5, I think, 4 or 5. Yeah. Move. Good. Here. Good boy. So we return him back, right? Then I'm going to turn him back around. So he sees I'm putting some groceries on the plate, right? But I want him to stay there. So it's a retrieving game, you know. Move. Good. Here. Good boy. Good boy. And you can make it as difficult as you want to. With my personal dogs, I do this when it's like this outside for this exact reason. Because it's good mental work. It's getting them moving around, because when my pet dogs are in my house, they know they have a certain way they have to act in my house, and they don't get to be up here unless I'm like, okay, let's do this. But I will go and I'll set the treat, I'll set the plate there, do the treat, and then I will take it into the other room. I'll take it upstairs. I'll make it a challenge for them, basically. So I'm getting them some physical and mental work, which, if you know about your dog, mental work is much more physical to dogs than actual physical work, because it exhausts them, right? So you're getting a good dose of both. But you have to just start. I would recommend a leash. Obviously, you can step on the leash, but yeah, and it's a retrieving game, and it also works on recall too. So I think that they probably like that. Do you have any other suggestions? Besides doing some of your, some down or some touch. You can do a ball if you have a large enough area in your house. But that's what I typically do.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thank you
Well,
very
thank
much,
you.
guys. Thank you, Reggie and Georgie.
Good job.
Awesome.
Good job.
You guys were good too.
Thank you.
Get your frisbee. Here you go.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
I ain't the one that throws that, is it?
Yeah. Bobby doesn't sound very nice. He got his wife a weed eater.
Right.
That's right. Watch out for Bobby, guys.
That is so strange that them dogs react that way to frisbee, because that's the way we trained Jane to do her job here at the funeral home. And then we'd leave her treats around where she was supposed to go.
And they're not there for very long.
That's
Snap
right.
them right up.
She did. Come on in. She did very well. Now,
Thanks, guys.
as everybody knows, yesterday was Mardi Gras. That's why I've got on the purple instead of the red. So you guys never figured that out, did you? So, of course, Mardi Gras is French. And Jane, I know how to speak French. Go ahead, just ask me.
Do you speak French, Bobby?
Oui. Get it? Oui.
I get
That's
it.
French.
I get it.
Mardi Gras is French. Does anybody know what Mardi Gras actually stands for in French? You're going to be really mad when I tell you. You don't know, do you?
I
Mardi
do.
Gras stands for Fat Tuesday. Is that crazy or what? It's the truth. Well, I would never pull your guys' legs, or anything like that. Just like Mardi Gras, for instance. Mardi Gras, this is what I like about it so much. It's where a $1 pair of beads will accomplish the same thing a $100 lobster may have got you on Valentine's Day. Get it? No, forget it.
I don't get it.
You don't get it? Well, I'll explain it to you later. Of course, I've never been to Mardi Gras, but I have been around a bunch of drunk people flashing their boobs. I'm telling you, our family reunions, they're the worst. Yeah. I was going to bring some beads today because we knew we had some company, but I
There
didn't
you
think
go.
I was ready for that. So.
That's right.
Jane's got some thank yous for you today.
Yes, I do. Thank you to Eric Montagna from Meyerhofer for entertaining us with his presidential inauguration information. Very entertaining and educational. Thank you to Ryan Steen from Performance Plus for being here. Hopefully we got you guys up and moving a little bit, and if not, you can go back and watch this recording and do the exercises with Ryan. Rochelle Willis and Shanda Johnson, Georgie and Reggie, I thought they were fun. Everybody
Awesome.
loves to see the dogs when they make it into the house, and I know the pets I've had have never been that well behaved. Those guys were here for almost the whole time, and you didn't hear a peep out of them.
Never barked once.
And I did want to thank you also for joining us and being patient with us getting this started today. We took a little time, some technical difficulties, just the way this week's going, I think. But we're glad you stayed with us and hopefully enjoyed today's program.
Remember, if you would like to sign up for a COVID vaccine, call 816-271-4613 and get added to the list. Today's Facebook event could not have happened without the help of the creative team at Freudenthal Home-Based Healthcare. Big round of applause for Josh right here, guys. He's with us every month. Thank you for making today's live stream not only happen, but I think you tried to make us look good as you can. Of course, we're talking about Jen.
Well, and Bobby has repeated over and over today that he loves Josh because he's the only one that laughs at his jokes. So, yeah.
Pity laughs. Pity laughs.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to Debbie Jones today. And thank you to a small group of Silver and Gold volunteers that sat in with us today live on Facebook event. Thank you all very much.
And we'll probably see these folks again tomorrow.
That's right,
At the
that's right.
drive-through luncheon. So thank you for your time. 2
There,
days
y'all
in a
coming
row.
tomorrow?
Yes.
Great, thanks for the warning. And
Thank you to everyone that was able to join us for today's luncheon. We know how much you miss Silver and Gold. So do we. We're going to work really hard to keep you engaged and look for that date that we can all be together and do this in person.
Silver and Gold motto, everybody knows it. Make new friends and keep the old. One is silver and one is gold.
Thank you for being with us today. Take care. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Don't forget the last line, Jane.
That's yours, Bobby.
It's so cold, when we milk the cows, we got ice cream. See, these are Jane's jokes, guys. I apologize.
They're good.
That was awesome. Thank you, guys. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow.